Welcome to the Honest Health Podcast with your host, Jeffrey Burke. Honest Health brings you the brightest minds in the natural products industry, as well as athletes and entertainers. Jeff will keep you entertained and informed while educating on how to be successful on your healthy journeys. Now, here's your host, Jeffrey Burke.
Hello and welcome back to the Honest Health Podcast. My name is Jeffrey Burke. I am so glad you're here today. I get excited about everyone. People tell me, are you always this excitable? Yes, I am. And it's just my personality. I can't help it. I do not apologize for it because when you find your calling and you find your passion, dig in deep and hold on tight. I think that's what it's all about. Dan Chapman is with me today. Dan and I have got a really long history. We've done radio shows together. We have done podcasts together as well. And he is an amazing industry insider, not only being in the industry for a long time through the family, but I just learned something. There's a new extension of the family in the stores now. So another generation coming on board. How fantastic is that? So we're going to talk today. Well, we're going to talk about a lot of things, but we're going to focus today on credibility and integrity of things that are brought out to the consumer. We're also going to talk about hypertension and blood pressure today, which is a very, very big topic, and I don't think it's discussed as much as it should be. But help me welcome my guest. Dan, how are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. It's always good to be here with you, Jeff.
Thank you so much. I just saw that you were on the road, and were you doing trainings on the road?
Yes, down in Florida, hitting a few health food stores down there. You know, I love the independent health food stores to train not just the teams there, but do some consumer lectures. So it's always great to be out.
You know, there's something good to be said about the Zooms and Zoom meetings and stuff, because I think it really saved many, many industries during the pandemic. I had no idea what a Zoom was. I thought it was what my dogs did when they ran around, but we learned about it. But honestly, I think you'll probably feel the same way I do. There's nothing better than being face-to-face or in front of a group.
Absolutely, 100% agree.
So give people a little bit of history, just a background history of you because of the stores. These were family. You were kind of, I have a friend of mine says we were breastfed into the industry from a very young age. And thank goodness that your passion and your intelligence and your knowledge, everything stayed with you. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, my start came really from my mom and dad. My parents opened a health food store, Sunrise Health Foods, in the South Chicago area in 1961. I say that there's only one of two reasons you'd open a health food store in the 60s. You were either a hippie or you were sick. There were no other options. And I don't know which is the better choice, but for my family, my mom was sick. And that's what got us started here is, I won't spend a lot of time on that, but it was a very, very long road. But let's just say that over time, she learned about how to change her diet and the integration of vitamins and minerals and herbs. And it literally transformed my mom's life. So I grew up with a mom who was incredibly passionate about food and health and nutrition. And so I literally grew up in the aisles of a health food store. I'm really grateful. I still own Sunrise Health Foods today. We're still a family-owned store in the Chicagoland area. And I mentioned you beforehand, I'm excited because my son, Eli, has come to work at Sunrise. He's just finished college. And it really is satisfying to have another generation coming that is excited to help people solve health challenges. And so that's my background. And, I spend most of my time today on Redd Remedies, supplement company I started 20 years ago now. That just doesn't quite seem possible to me.
It's amazing.
Yeah, but we started Redd Remedies really to put formulas together. So I don't sell single ingredients. There's plenty of single ingredients you can buy out there. But I really believe in the power of a well-designed formula to help solve a health challenge. And hopefully part of what we'll uncover today is just some of the unique ways that we go about that. And I'll just kind of give you a little snapshot there. My belief is that if we give the body the nutrients that it needs and we support the systems involved in the issues, that we can help the body come back into balance, because that's what our body does. It wants to. All day long, our body is working to bring itself back into balance. That's how most of its energy is spent. And if we help it do that, your body is going to solve its health challenges on its own. And that is such a better way to solve a health issue rather than pushing or stimulating the body towards what we think is health. Because even when we do that naturally, that achievement of health is temporary. Because if we're pushing the body, we're not helping the body do it on its own. It's like if I want to run a race, there's two ways to do it. I can either train and do that on my own, or I can have somebody come behind me and push me all the way along, right? Both ways might get me across that finish line, but only one way is a good way to get there.
I learned really early in my career, I can't remember who I heard this from, but I was very young, and they had said, the reason we don't eat one food, the same food, the only food every single day is because we need a variety of nutrients coming from different places. And my idea about the synergism of a blended combination, you can't usually rely on just one nutrient. You need to bring its friends and have the synergism and the combinations and the blending of these nutrients, because that's where the results are made and that's where the success falls.
Absolutely, 100% agree.
So hypertension, high blood pressure, things like that. This is a big issue. And I talk to people all the time. They'll say the thing I hate the most about going to the doctor is getting my blood pressure, because I'm staring at it and I know it's going through the roof. And I'm always telling the doctor, it's going to be high. It's going to be high. I got caught up in traffic. And the next worst thing is standing on the scale and finding out how much you really weigh, the reality of that. But blood pressure, a lot of people still call it a silent killer, because many people are walking around that have no idea that they may even have an issue.
Yeah, that's true. It actually, if you look at the numbers, it is a little bit scary. It's not my point to scare people, but I think it's important to know right now, almost half of us Americans have high blood pressure. Almost half. It's 48 to 49%. And the other part that is a little bit scary to me in that number is it's only about 1 out of 5 of those individuals that have their blood pressure under control. That means that 80% of people with high blood pressure don't have it under control. So maybe they don't know, or they're working towards it, and whatever they're doing isn't getting them where they need to be. And that's why this is absolutely an important topic.
Well, there are so many different factors that are out there that can be contributing factors to blood pressure situations. And a lot of people think it's only an obesity thing or it's only a stress thing, but that's not true.
No, it's really not. Now, stress, I think, is more of an issue than most people probably recognize, but there's a lot more going on. We know, first of all, blood pressure is the symptom, right? So it's not the problem, it's the symptom of the problem. And so there's a lot of things going on in the body that can cause us to have elevated blood pressure. But one of the dots that I've connected on that in recent years, part of the reason that I wrote The Gout Lie, as you know, is that there is a significant connection between high blood pressure and high uric acid. So I would say to anybody out there, if your blood pressure is high, or you're struggling to bring your numbers back into alignment, if you have not tested uric acid, please go get those numbers checked and see where you're at. And the reason for that, let's just kind of unpack uric acid for a minute. It's one of those things in the body, in the bloodstream, that when it's at a healthy range, it's actually an antioxidant. It's important for us. But when uric acid is elevated, it crystallizes. It's not soluble anymore. And most of us think about, okay, that uric acid is really only a problem when it crystallizes in my big toe and causes the disease known as gout. But we also know that most people with high uric acid never feel gout. That's actually true. So that uric acid is also crystallizing in your bloodstream, so in the vessels and in the kidneys. So think about something that's crystallizing in your blood vessels in your kidneys. It's actually causing lesions, which is going to then cause scarring, which is going to cause your blood vessels to not be able to relax and contract. And blood vessels are doing this all day, right? So it causes your vessels to be more rigid. When they're rigid, blood pressure is going up. When the kidneys have lesions in them and scarring, two things happen. It's a spiral for uric acid because it's the kidney's job to regulate uric acid levels. So if it can't because it's scarred, it's not going to regulate those levels well, and then you go up even more. And we also know that it's the kidney's primary job to regulate blood pressure. And that's why high uric acid, high blood pressure go hand in hand. And so that's a connection that most people don't make, and such an important connection.
Is part of that scarring also a contributing factor to platelet aggregation, as well as also restricting blood flow? Because adhesions can sometimes work their way in, and your 5 lanes of traffic are down to 1 or 2 lanes, which also raises blood pressure.
That's right, actually. So, people are aware of nitric oxide, or at least have some understanding maybe that nitric oxide, increases blood vessel dilation, right? So if we can increase dilation, we're going to bring blood pressure back down to normal. Circulation is going to be healthy and vibrant. But the nitric oxide is actually produced in that epithelium lining of the veins and arteries. So there's that thin inner lining, and that's the lining that gets scarred first, right? So if we are causing damage in that epithelium lining, nitric oxide actually comes down, which causes circulation to diminish and blood pressure to go up. So huge issues there. And the thing to understand about nitric oxide is this is also sometimes we hear a number and it's low, and if I could just do something to boost nitric oxide, and there's an element of truth in that. But just like uric acid, when it's at a healthy range, it's an antioxidant. When uric acid is high, it's a pro-oxidant. Nitric oxide is exactly the same way. We want nitric oxide to be at a healthy level where it is a an antioxidant and dilates blood vessels well. We don't want to boost nitric oxide to a high unhealthy level. It actually then turns into a pro-oxidant. So it's not about boosting, it's about balancing. It's about helping your body create those levels at the appropriate amount.
Now, let me ask you a question, maybe more of a statement. There was a time when a 400 cholesterol was considered normal. And then it went down to 300. Then it went down to 200. And then they kept changing it down to like 180, and then more and more people didn't fit the bill. So a lot more people are on medication and statins and stuff because of it. So with blood pressure, has the ratings changed, or are we at a different level now? Has
Absolutely.
it changed due to weight and stress and age? What is a normal blood pressure? And is there a set standard for everybody, or does not everybody fit in the same box?
Yeah, I appreciate all of those questions, because definitely as it pertains to cholesterol is a unique number to a person. And I realize there's maybe some ranges in there, but again, we're talking about a symptom with cholesterol and blood pressure. We're not talking about the cause here. So when we look at blood pressure, the range is a little bit tighter. It's a little more narrow than, say, what I think the range for healthy cholesterol is. But those numbers have definitely come down over the years. I'm not sure exactly what the today exact standard is, but it's right at about 120/80, which we can consider normal for a long time. I think they want it even just a touch lower than that now.
Wow.
Whereas it used to be much higher, was still considered to be normal and perfectly healthy. But we do know that as we get older, blood pressure is going to go up a little bit. Let's just be realistic about our bodies and the aging process a little bit. And so if we get a little bit older and blood pressure comes up minimally, I'm not overly concerned about that. That doesn't mean that I'm ignoring it, but I'm not jumping right to a medication immediately. I'm going to make sure that we're going to do some things to help make sure my body functions well so we can be regulated properly.
Well, people don't realize, but there are literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of blood pressure medicines that are out there. And every year, more and more keep coming up. And I keep thinking to myself, have we got it wrong? Are we trying to put all of the benefit onto the pharmaceuticals and not realizing what Mother Nature has right in front of us that could be, a lot more effective? And obviously there are people, I'm not going to be a hater of the medical establishment, because there's people that are alive due to some of those medications, thank goodness. But it doesn't mean we all need to follow the protocol. I think we can all look to Mother Nature a little bit too. And I'm glad that's kind of what you do with your formulations. And your formulas are different. They're much more different than people even realize. And once they understand the philosophy behind your products, the aha light bulb lights up, and they're just like, because you're not just throwing things together. There's an intricate process for these products. And I would love for you to talk about, the things that we can do for blood pressure and what you're presenting to the consumer. And I want everybody to know that the Redd Remedies line is available everywhere, no matter where you go, D2C or mom and pop health food stores, which we love. But keep your eyes open for the line of Redd Remedies products. There's some amazing products, but you can pick them up anywhere. So go.
Yeah, so let's dive into the 120 Radicare as the formula. And I'll just kind of say here initially, what I'm working to stay away from is diuretics here. And I feel like I need to say that up front because some of the medications are diuretics. There certainly are also herbs that are stimulant diuretics. And the theory of a diuretic is that, it's going to push water out of the body. And when that happens, blood pressure comes down. And that does work. That's exactly how it works. But what we need to understand is that is short term. It's not a long-term fix because what a stimulant diuretic is going to do is push the kidneys. It's kind of like that race that I mentioned. It's like coming behind the kidneys and pushing them across the finish line, which means that you're actually robbing energy from an organ that is already weak or stressed. And so long-term, and by long-term, I mean even just months, a stimulant diuretic might actually cause blood pressure to be more out of line. The other thing that I know for sure is a diuretic over time like that will actually increase your uric acid numbers. Again, I think those numbers are very tightly connected between uric acid and blood pressure. So I stay away from stimulant diuretics for blood pressure issues or for uric acid issues. And so the place that I go is I start with, we have 3 herbs that we put in 120 Radicare as a blend that really work well together. And so those 3 herbs are astragalus, andrographis, and schizandra. Let me start with astragalus because it's the one oftentimes people hear astragalus. And if you know this herb, the first thought is, well, hey, Dan, I thought that was for the immune system, right? Did you get this wrong? No, astragalus, yes, it's amazing for healthy immunity. But if you look at the historical use and the studies on astragalus for cardio protection and for nourishing the kidneys and for healthy blood pressure, this is an absolutely incredible herb. So it is an adaptogen. So that means it's going to work on that stress response. But if you look at some of the nuance of astragalus, it contains a peptide known as AM1. And what that does is it inhibits another enzyme called ACE, and I'll just abbreviate it as such. And that reduces the production of another nutrient in the body that causes the blood vessels to be constricted. And so if we inhibit that enzyme, we're actually going to allow your blood vessels to be dilated properly. So that's some of the nuance of the science. If we just make it really, really simple, what astragalus does is it protects your heart and the cardiovascular system. It nourishes the kidneys so the kidneys can do the job they were designed to do in the first place. And it helps restore healthy blood pressure, both the diastolic and the systolic numbers. So the top line and the bottom line. So incredible for healthy circulation. So that's astragalus. And what's interesting is you talked about not eating one food for the rest of your life. And this is the reason we put a formula together. So if I just kind of put on top of this real quick, andrographis, we can look at the benefits of andrographis, an herb that's very adaptogen-like. Some herbalists might call it an adaptogen. In many cases, we would look at this as a tonic herb, so it's very adaptogen-like. But if you look at the benefits, it almost mirrors astragalus. It nourishes the kidneys. It works on the top line blood pressure and the bottom line blood pressure numbers. It encourages healthy circulation in the body. Both of these herbs are going to help your body produce a healthy amount of nitric oxide. Notice I did not say a nitric oxide booster. And now for many people, nitric oxide, yes, it's going to go up, but I want it to go up to a healthy range. I don't want it to go up to that healthy range and keep going. I want it to be balanced. And so astragalus and andrographis together are really powerful to get at the core issues that would cause your blood pressure to be elevated in the first place. So really, really powerful herbs. And then we bring schizandra alongside that, the last of these 3 herbs in this specific part of the formula. And Schizandra, again, an adaptogen. If we understand each adaptogen, while they're pretty incredible at helping protect our bodies from the negative impact of stress, each adaptogen is unique, has kind of an expertise. So if we look at Schizandra's expertise for stress, it is incredible for helping us with emotional stressors. Now, I also realize that a lot of, guys maybe that are listening right now, because it's usually a guy that's going to have some high blood pressure, certainly not exclusively, but you might be like, it's not my emotions, right? Or I don't need to pay attention to those. But in fact, if your blood pressure is up, there's some emotional stress going on, I promise you. And so Schizandra it helps calm the mind, quiet the spirit. It's a good way to look at that. We've all got a lot going on in our brains, a lot of concerns about all kinds of things. And Schizandra just helps to calm that mind, quiet the spirit, at the same time, strengthen and protect that cardiovascular system. Great studies showing its ability to bring balance to blood pressure as well. But how and why? Because of its work and power on that stress response.
Now, because of the synergism that's here, people don't, and maybe they're just realizing that there's power in numbers, and there's power in things that are blended creatively, but also using science to blend them, because we know what they do individually, but we also knew what they do when they're mixed together, and they're supporting each other because the outcome can be so much more beneficial and noticeable. But people will ask me all the time, they'll say, well, I've been dealing with hypertension or blood pressure for a long time, and I'm on medicine. Am I allowed to branch into the natural products while I'm still on medication? Do I need to have the dialogue with my medical practitioner? These are things that people are at least starting to ask.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, that it is important, especially with a topic like blood pressure. Now, I can tell you that the ingredients that we're using in 120 Ready Care, while I'm not really concerned about the supplement and the drug fighting each other, that doesn't mean there's no risk. There absolutely is. If we bring some balance to blood pressure with 120 Ready Care and you don't adjust that medication appropriately, we can have a real issue. And so, that is not my role to speak into that. That is definitely between you and your doctor. And I realize there's challenges with that, right? But work and find that doctor that's willing to work with you and help your body do what it's designed to do, and not just revert to nothing but medications.
How do you feel about the people being enamored with beets these days? I think that's part of the nitric oxide kind of topic that's out there. But I mean, I'm a big beet person. A lot of people are not. But I mean, I've been doing beets for a long time. But I will honestly admit that since I've read more studies, I do eat more beets.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm busy and I'm older and I'm on the road a lot, so a lot of different places, and that does put natural stresses on the body. Even though you love it,
Yeah.
it does put stress on the body. So I do find myself eating a lot more beets. What's your beet kind of thing here?
I get excited anytime somebody thinks that eating a vegetable like beets is an important thing and a good thing. So first of all, I'm going to celebrate it. But I do have to say, when it comes to that, eat your beets out of the organic produce section, please. This is an area where I don't think it is worth spending your money on a supplement. I'm just going to be real honest there. If you dive into the science here, and I won't do it here on this because it's just a lot of numbers, but let's just say that in a supplement, like a capsule form, powder form, certainly, some sort of a soft chew or gummy form, the therapeutic dose of beets is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of a bottle of whatever you're buying a day. Like most of them out there are going to be about 1,000 milligrams of beets to about 3 capsules. In that, you're going to need about 60 capsules a day to hit the dosing for the average content of a beet. And so nobody's going to swallow that many pills, nor should you. And to be honest, you don't have to. You're so much better off just going to the produce department, getting some organic beets and eating those. And let me just add to that. So why would you use beets? Maybe somebody that's listening doesn't know why that would be an important thing to do. Beets do help increase nitric oxide production in the body. When you increase nitric oxide production, it's a vasodilator. So it dilates the blood vessels, brings blood pressure down, helps increase healthy circulation. If you're a guy struggling with sexual function, erectile dysfunction, increasing nitric oxide can actually help improve the ED issues that you're having, okay? So there's a lot of good reasons to do it. But understand what I said from the early part of the show. We don't want to just boost nitric oxide because at some point it becomes a problem when it's too high. We want it to be in a balanced range. So if you look at my 120/80 care formula, the 3 herbs that I just mentioned, the andrographis, the astragalus, the schizandra, all 3 of those are actually going to help your body produce a healthy amount of nitric oxide, as will hawthorn that we haven't even talked about yet. So 120/80 care is going to get you where you need to be by bringing it into balance. And the dosing here, by the way, 2 capsules a day, not 60. Much better choice. So eats and beets, yes. Put them on your salad, steam them, love them, enjoy them. They're good for you. But in a supplement, I say no.
Now, real quick, before we go to the hawthorn, which I really want to talk about, people think that if you're thin, you can't have high blood pressure. And I know that weight is not the only issue either. So
yeah, no, it's not. There's plenty of risk factors. Again, stress is a huge risk factor, and stress is equivalent to smoking, to diabetes, to being overweight as a risk factor. There was a study done of 25,000 people in about 50 different countries, and what they found is that chronic stress doubled your chance of having a heart attack. Okay, this study had nothing to do with weight. It only looked at stress levels. So stress is absolutely one of the things that we need to address, because if your body lives in chronic stress, blood pressure remains high and it starts to damage the blood vessels. It starts to cause them to not have the elasticity that they need. And again, that's going to cause blood pressure to remain high and to get worse. So we definitely need to focus on that. And again, that doesn't matter if you're thin or not.
thank you. I really wanted to make sure that we brought that home, and because there's a lot of people that just instantly feel that they're not a candidate, and they could have so many of the other boxes that are checked and risk factors. So it is about being aware. It is about going in and creating a relationship with your medical practitioner and staying on top of the game and knowing certain parts about your health that you don't get to see. You have to have it measured to see exactly
Absolutely.
where you are. So let's talk hawthorn. Love hawthorn.
Yeah, hawthorn is probably, if you look at an herb for heart health, hawthorn has got to be the first choice. I mean, if you look at the historical use and the number of studies on hawthorn for all cardiac issues, it's an absolutely incredible herb. It helps with proper like heart contraction and relaxation. And so what does that mean? It helps the heart muscle do its job, which is to pump blood, right? To create energy through the body all day, every day. So hawthorn is cardiotonic, it's nourishing, it's supportive, it lowers blood pressure on its own, it's an antioxidant, it improves nitric oxide levels again. I mean, hawthorn essentially does what we need to be healthy, not just with blood pressure, but overall cardiovascular function. The thing about hawthorn is that this is, again, an incredible herb, but there's different parts of this herb that are used and have been studied historically for a long time. And generally what you'll find that the hawthorn extract that you see in a capsule again, or a tincture or whatever, is like 1 or 2 parts of the plant, but not the whole thing. So one of the things that we've done a little bit unique in our 120/80 care formula is I use hawthorn, the berries, the leaves, and the flowers.
Yay.
So I want to maybe paint a little picture of like, why would I do this? If you've ever heard the statement, eat the rainbow. So let's just go back to diet again, right? So eat the rainbow basically just means that you make sure that you've got all kinds of colors on the plate, right? We want the reds and the purples and the whites and the greens and all of that stuff, because while we may not even fully have the depth of understanding today of how important all of those colors are in our food, each color provides a different type of antioxidant, a different nutrient, and so forth. Well, If you bring all of that back, that statement, eat the rainbow, to hawthorn, let's think about this. The leaves are green, the berries are red, the flowers are mostly white and yellow in the pistil. So we've got the rainbow in one herb. And if we leave a part of it behind, we're leaving a different antioxidant potential there. So, if we look at most of the studies, honestly, most of the studies are on the leaf and the flower. Incredible research for cardiovascular function, but I don't want to leave off the berries that have a really strong historical use in different antioxidants, as well as great studies for the same. So we use berries, leaves, and flowers because I want that synergistic effect. I want all of those different colors, all of the different antioxidant potential that's going to help my heart function well. And it's important to support the heart and the vessels for somebody that's struggling with high blood pressure, because we know when your pressure is up, it creates tremendous stress on the heart and the vessels. And so hawthorn in this formula is kind of a step back and protect the system while the other herbs are really doing the heavy lifting. Hawthorn comes right alongside with that.
Well, Mother Nature gives us these amazing tools. And, sometimes I think that we jump too quickly and we use the obvious parts of plants, and other amazing factors of the plant just get left behind. It's like I was watching this special the other night. It was I'm terrible with dog rescues and adoption centers. I've got way too many animals and I could never go there because I'd get kicked out of my neighborhood for having too many dogs. But you see, people run in and they have in their mind they want a puppy, and they'll get a puppy. And there's all these beautiful, amazing, fantastic dogs that are sitting there that are overlooked. I apply that to our industry as well. There are parts of the plants and nutrients that are overlooked for whatever reason, because there is science. For whatever reason, they're only going to the things that they know. But how much are we missing by not utilizing those parts of the plant? So thank you for that clarification. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's easy for us to oversimplify things. It's easier even just on marketing messaging, but we do things a little different at Redd Remedies. I've got Stacy Littlefield on my team. She's worked with me since before I started the company. Stacy has a master's degree in herbal medicine, as you know, and she is in charge of putting these formulas together and sourcing the right herbs that we want to use in our formulas. So it's not marketing messaging we care about. It's impact of that formula to do exactly what we create it to do. And we know it's going to work better with all of the different parts.
Well, I like that idea. And to me, it just makes it, maybe it's just because I've been around for so long that it just makes really good sense. But, we are a quick fix, magic wand, world today. And even though we know how long it took for things to happen and for problems to occur, of course, we still want the magic wand. I want one. Mm-hmm. I want a magic wand. I mean, I wish there was a franchise. I'd buy a magic wand franchise, but the thing is, we have to remember that, take a step back and really read your supplement labels on your products and make sure that you're picking a product that utilizes all the things that or are just learning about that could be beneficial. I think that's why your products stand out differently, and they have a different tone to them because of the fact that they're formulated differently, because they're taking so many things into consideration that maybe some people are missing or just not, or they're naive to. But thank you for going the extra step.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it is definitely about the whole formula. The sum is certainly greater than the parts. But, in addition to that, as sourcing of the right herb is important. I mean, again, we talk about hawthorn. You can have hawthorn on the label and it can look the same way 1,000 times over, but that doesn't mean the quality of that hawthorn is the same in all of those bottles. That's part of the uniqueness of having a master herbalist on team, is that we are sourcing really good quality herbs. And then we have a testing protocol to ensure that all the way through, right? Because these herbs don't grow in my backyard. I wish they all did, but we're sourcing herbs from all over the world. And so we've got a testing protocol. Every ingredient that we use in all of our products, and then every formula as a whole, has a unique, specific testing protocol that we've designed to ensure that we absolutely get that herb that we're looking for, the one that we expected, right? So we build relationships, we trust, but then we verify all the way through. And then testing for toxins and, all kinds of other things just to make sure that, these herbs aren't adulterated that we're getting in. You never know through that supply chain. And that's why we build relationships we trust, but we want to verify. And that's all managed by a third-party lab. But, having a master herbalist on board allows us to design those testing protocols appropriately for each ingredient and then each formula.
You hit on something that I've always respected about your company. It's perfectly fine to test and retest all the individual constituents individually and separately. But when you mix them together, sometimes they don't all play well in the sandbox.
That's right.
When you test the end product, you're like, okay, we're still there. Everything is doing their individual thing, and now they're working as a group and a gang together, and that's fine, and that's clear. Then you know that you've got a winning product, because I know people that have had to scrap a product because individually everything was good. They put them together and it was just terrible. Everything changed. The levels changed. They didn't get along with this one. So they had to go back to the drawing board. So doing that extra layer of testing on the finished product, I think that's really special.
Absolutely. Very important.
So how do people use the product? I know you mentioned it's a 2-a-day formula. Is that across the board, or is it based on weight and age or your levels? And of course, working with your medical practitioner, we clarified that.
Yeah. So 120 Care is just 2 capsules a day is the full dose, and that's an everybody dose. I prefer if we took one of those in the morning and one in the afternoon, but I'll even say there, it's not essential with this formula. So if you're, that individual like, hey, Dan, I'm only taking vitamins once a day, that's it. Take them both in the morning. That's fine. This is a formula also, you can take it with or without food. So it's not that important there. Usually when there's some minerals involved, and we do have magnesium and potassium here, usually you'll take your minerals with food. But the minerals that we're using are fully reacted chelates, which basically what that means is it's a little less important to take it with food because we don't need your digestive system to react that mineral properly. It's already kind of done for you. So they're very gentle, easy on the stomach, easy on the digestive system. And again, that allows it to be a formula that can be used with or without food. And I will say generally what you'll find with 120 Care is for individuals whose blood pressure is driven significantly by stress, you're honestly going to find that it's going to work very quickly. Within even a couple of days, you'll see some things start to come back down to normal. But then 120 Care really starts to hit its full stride in that 1 to 3 month range, because the core of this, what we're trying to do is bring balance to kidney function. It's the kidney's job to regulate blood pressure, even though there's a lot of other factors going on. That's the heavy lifting we're trying to do here. And that takes a little bit of time to get there. But you'll see some early wins with this formula for sure. Because stress it involves everybody there. That's just not a few people. Stress is a factor for everybody. It just depends on whether it's the factor or a contributing factor.
With all the delays at the airport last night, because I flew in last night from Houston because I was on the road again. And it was so funny because there were like 9 cancellations. I wish I could have measured that stress in the airport because it was not pretty. I haven't heard those many words being said all at one time in a small little space. I just kind of sat back going, mine's on time. I'm good. I'm just
oh, goodness. Here. Yeah.
So, another question. People use more than one of your formulas. They use maybe different ones. Are they harmonious and do they work well together?
Yeah, there's a couple other yes, you can layer formulas on, if you need to. And there's a couple here that might need to be layered on depending on other contributing factors. We have a cardiovascular foundation formula called Heart Strong that if somebody really needs a lot of support, I would definitely layer that one on. It's another 2 capsules. So still not a lot of pills we're talking about. Another one, it would be our gout formula. And this is the one to support healthy uric acid. Again, especially for an individual that has high blood pressure, test those uric acid numbers. And if things are elevated, use Gouch alongside with that one. Another contributing factor you just talked about, weight, metabolic syndrome, diabetes, blood sugar balance. We have a formula called Crave Stop that goes right after that. And if that's a contributing factor for you, use Crave Stop. All of those can be used together. My hope is that we're not going after 3-4 formulas, but sometimes we just need a lot of correction in the body to bring things back. Probably the thing to understand about all of our products is we design them to have therapeutic impact with low dosing. We're really intentional in our formulation process to design formulas that work without having to take, 6, 8, 10 pills of one product a day. And so most of these products I've just mentioned are either 2, maybe 4 capsules a day. When you put them together, we can get some incredible results with lower dosing. So absolutely, you can stack products where you've got a lot of contributing factors going on.
And of course, we want people to drink more water,
Absolutely.
the basics, good diet, colorful diet, lots of water, some activity, get the sleep, manage your stress, kick the negativity out if you can possibly do that.
Absolutely.
Because these are all factors as well. Of course, quit smoking, quit doing the things that are contributing factors.
Yeah.
And people can only do that when they're ready to make a change. And so we of course want people to do everything they possibly can do. Do you have a copy of your book there?
Oh, well, of course. Yeah, we've got the guideline right here.
I want people to know this book is absolutely brilliant. I've read it 5 times now. I'm obsessed because as I travel, people are constantly talking about gout. This comes at gout from a completely different angle, and it gives you what we're missing in most cases with uric acid problems is hope. So definitely pick up this book. You're going to love it. And like Dan talked about earlier, there is a relationship between high uric acid and hypertension and blood pressure. And when you read this book, you'll understand, you'll have those light bulb aha moments. And I learn something new every time I pick it up and I read it. And I read it a lot because of the fact that it applies to a very large portion of the population. And because I travel so much, people are always coming up to me. And no matter where I am, this question comes up every single time. So tell people how they get the book. Can they get it on Amazon?
Yeah, you can go to Amazon and we've got it in print and Kindle and Audible. If you want, you can go to thegoutlie.com and get a little more information on it there, but certainly Amazon is just fine.
And remember, all the Redd Remedy products are available at finer health food stores near you, and of course, direct to customer as well. These are great products, and you guys know how I am after way too many years. I have to feel it, I have to know it, and I have to be able to do the research on the lines for them to come on and be a part, because I want to assign my name to the companies and the founders and the formulators that are doing it right. And this is definitely one of those instances. Before we go, Dan, I got to give you a question of the day. Our industry has changed dramatically. We've gone in a lot of different directions. We've seen the metamorphosis of the natural products industry. If you had, let's say, your own magic wand and you could change one thing about our industry, what would you change?
Can I tweak your question a little bit and say what I want more of? Because I think our industry has a lot of this, but I think the more we can get, the better. And that's human connection. Our industry has always been historically an industry of good-hearted people that care about others and want to see positive change in somebody else's life. And, like anything, we all need to make a living, right? And so sometimes when businesses are involved, we tend to focus a little bit too much on the marketing and the sales side. So if I could change one thing, it would be doing a little bit less of the P&L, a little bit less of the business, and double down on the people and the relationships. Because you said a moment ago the word hope, and that is, to me, so important. Is I want people to understand that your bodies have the ability to heal. I don't care what it is that you're struggling with. I don't care how long you've been struggling. You can get better in the right condition, the right situation. So that's environment. That's people around you, right? The human connection and the right food. And these herbs that I believe God created to heal bodies are unbelievable. So just know that you can get better. Do not give up.
Wow. Now that's an answer. Dan Chapman with me today with Redd Remedies. Don't forget to get his book on Amazon. Thank you all for being here today. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. And thank you for tuning in. Remember, you can go to my website, drjeffreyburke.com, tap on the Honest Health logo. It'll take you to all the platforms for the audio version. Of course, you can tap on the YouTube, which I kind of enjoy. Make sure you subscribe so you can watch the interaction, watch the video, watch the interview. I just think it's a lot more powerful when you can see the people that are, interacting together. I love this. I had 42 years of radio where I never saw anybody. So now I get to see people. So for me, this is like a really great winning combination. Dan, will you come back and see me again?
Oh, I can't wait. Anytime.
Thank you so much. Thanks for being here today. Thank you for all you're doing. And congratulations for the next generation in the stores for you. How fabulous. I think that's wonderful to have the family tradition continuing. Everybody, do me a favor. Have a wonderful day. Do something great for yourself. Always remember, think about yourself, think about your health, and ask as many questions as you possibly can. Be well. God bless.
Stay tuned for more information from the Honest Health Podcast with Jeffrey Burke. And make sure to check back often for interviews and conversations from the guests we all want to hear from. I'm John the Announcer. Thanks for listening.